Welcome, welcome back to Boilers in the Stands. I'm your host, Joe Jackson. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host, Kraig Bowers. We are here to preview Purdue versus Oakland. The game takes place 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Friday, November 7th. It is on Peacock, so the first game of the season that is on Peacock for Purdue. Oakland, they come off of a 121-78 loss to Michigan. Oakland has, without a doubt in my mind, the toughest three-game stretch to open the season, maybe in history, at Michigan, at Purdue, at Houston. So a team that, right, Greg Kampe has been there forever. He's run a very similar system throughout his entire career. So we'll talk about all that, talk about the player personnel and kind of some things we'll be looking for from Purdue in their last tune-up type match before taking on Alabama next week. Craig, throw to you. How you doing? It's been a long time since we've discussed Purdue basketball. Yeah,
It's been so long on this early Wednesday morning. We're on a
Wednesday.
Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning. I don't even have my day straight anymore. But man, good to come off and actually get back into Mackey, my second home, joining 14 to 15,000 of my closest friends to see a Purdue win last night. So exciting stuff. Certainly looking forward to this next game as well. Like you mentioned, Greg Kampe's been there forever. He's currently the longest tenured head coach in NCAA Division I men's basketball. The man's racked up over 700 career wins. So somebody that knows what he's doing from a coaching standpoint. He survived for a very long time and stayed in the same place for a very, very long time. This team was actually ranked second in the preseason poll in the Horizon League, so it is one relative to their kind of class in terms of where they sit in the landscape of NCAA college basketball that's supposed to be pretty good. And a lot of you guys probably remember Oakland from their run in the NCAA tournament or their win in the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. Who was that shooter? What was his name again, Joe?
Jack Golke.
Jack Golke going off in that a couple of NCAA tournament games that he just absolutely went off in. So that should ring some bells in terms of who this Oakland team is. Start off the season 0-1 after getting absolutely overwhelmed by the size and athleticism of Michigan, and their size is, I think, something we'll talk about with this team relative to Purdue. Last year, 16-18, 11-9 in the Horizon, and finished sixth in the league. So they are projected to be better this year than last year. If we go and look at their KenPom stats coming into this year and kind of where they sit after one game, it is a little bit of a jump up, supposedly, from who Purdue played in Evansville. Currently sitting at about 205th in KenPom, and they're definitely higher on their offensive side of things, being 155th relative to defense, ranking 299th, and Michigan just steamrolled them. I went through and looked back at the stats because I watched that game live like you did. And just kind of looking back through the stats, I was like, man, Oakland shot the ball pretty well in that game when they got shots off. And then you went and looked at Michigan's stats, and Michigan shot like 65% from the field or something just absolutely ridiculous as Michigan takes them down 121-78 in that game. As you look at this team, Joe, just big picture, second game of the year coming in. I do need to make sure I reference they said multiple times on the broadcast that two of Kampe's projected starters did not play against that Michigan team. I don't know the status of them. I tried to look stuff up, didn't really find too much more about it, but they were without two starters, so the team might look a little bit different. You watched the game the other night. Before we kind of dive into the players, was there anything that just as a team as a whole that jumped out to you?
Yeah, we'll talk about it as we kind of get into the offensive and defense of them a little bit later in this preview. But they're a team that runs a ton of off-ball movement. They have shooters everywhere. And so, right, when we think back to, obviously, Oakland is nowhere near as talented or athletic as what Kentucky was. But, right, Kentucky kind of destroyed Purdue with a lot of off-ball action. So that is something that stands out. It's a good test of being able to work against a team that knows how to do it, even if they're not nearly as athletic as Kentucky at it. Also, they run this like 1-3-1 type zone defensively that just is goofy and junky and um, Purdue, like obviously Michigan got whatever they wanted against it, so it's not some unbeatable zone by any means, but it is something different and something Purdue will just have to be ready for.
Yeah, and as we move into the players and kind of break down their starters, and then maybe mention a couple of guys off the bench, um, they do come into this year with the preseason player of the year in the conference into Buru Nevalarua, who averaged 13.9 points, 7.1 rebounds, and 1.2 assists last season, a senior forward that sits at 6'6". Didn't have a great game against Michigan, struggled against their size, did end up with 18 points, but shot 6 of 16 from the field. But he's kind of where they think the offense is going to run through this year. But also good on the defensive side of the ball. As you watch that game and maybe seeing him before, what were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I from last game specifically, that was like the first game. I'm not going to act like I watched a ton of Oakland, but that was like the first real game of his career where he was very willing to step out and shoot from three. I think he went 3 of 7 from three. He had a Daymara on him from Michigan, who is kind of a Daniel Jacobson build, 7'4", lanky, a little bit skinny. Um, where Mara was trying to stay inside the paint as much as possible defensively, and Naivalurua. Um, yeah, I got there. He was able to step out and knock down a couple threes. He's only 6 for 14 in his 3-year career at Oakland, or two seasons in a game. But it's at least something to monitor. But looking more of what he has done in the past, he's somebody that they're very comfortable just dumping the ball down to in the post and kind of letting him go to work there. He isn't a great passer from the post, so if Purdue does decide to kind of double him, there could be some easy turnovers to be forced that way. Comfortable in isolation, pretty good rebounder overall, especially on the offensive side of the glass. And we saw Purdue kind of get torched by an Evansville team that really wasn't a great rebounding team. So somebody that they'll have to be aware of. I'm curious to see if Painter just kind of lets him shoot and if he knocks down a few just from there, or if he's just going to be like, no, we'll take that away kind of from the jump. So also somebody that can anchor the defense a little bit, not like an elite defender by any mean, but has some kind of upside of being a guy that will play maybe in the center of the zone or whatever and be able to try to cause havoc that way.
Yeah, and he just struck me as a guy that maybe isn't special from an athleticism standpoint, but is just like a super fundamental guy. Just watching him play in that game, and the guy who jumped out to me, Joe, the most off the page in this game was Isaac Garrett. He's a transfer from Snow College, junior college in Utah, comes in from there averaging 14.7 rebounds on 53% shooting from the floor. Really plays an undersized center at 6'8". He was the tallest person in Oakland's lineup going against Michigan, who has one of the biggest lineups in the country, most likely. So it was going to be a monumental task, but Isaac Garrett has moves. Like he went baseline. It took him a while to get comfortable. And then in that second half, he went baseline one time, spins, goes up against a guy and dunks over top of him. I was impressed just with his footwork and fluidity and his ability to finish at that size. Had some really difficult, like horse type finishes in that game where he kind of flips the ball up, would put spin on it to get it to drop. Don't know if that's something he can consistently do, but he hit a couple of them in that single game. Eclipses his average from junior college by I think 6 points and finishes with 20 in this game on 8 of 10 shooting. I don't know, man. I liked his moves.
Yeah, he's going to be a fun player, and as you said, an undersized kind of center type player. Somebody that again they'll be able to throw the ball to in the post if they want. He is somebody that wants to get to the rim. And looking at his stats from his year in JUCO last season, took 200 shots at the rim, and I don't know exactly how many games. 32 games he took 200 shots at the rim, and that doesn't even account for probably how many fouls he was able to draw. Good, solid enough athleticism, um, good cutter, good off ball mover. Doesn't seem like he's too much of an outside threat. Again, can maybe knock down an open one, but wouldn't be shot honestly with how Garrett and Taburu played, wouldn't be shocked if Garrett's treated more as just the pure center defensively, and that's who like Clough and Jacobson are on. Um, but yeah, just a solid player overall. I think can be a good rebounder. Um, and yeah, like you said, just kind of had some shots that just went in. It's just like, yeah, don't know how exactly that one went in.
Impressive nonetheless. The other kid that kind of jumped out to me watching this game, and he struggled at times with the defensive pressure that Michigan was putting on him. But again, he's undersized in that matchup. I think sitting at 5'10", right? In terms of the point guard that we're looking at here, 5'11", Brody Robinson in this game. But a kid that's just super, super shifty to me. At his size, again, going up against Michigan, a lot of length. Thought he struggled there just in terms of handling the defensive pressure. Purdue's guards aren't as big. We'll talk more about that later on. But to me, looked like a guy that just has he can move at a lot of different speeds. It looked like they really wanted him to kind of initiate and be the facilitator, quick out on the court. Like I said, I don't think it was his best game, but I guess looking at him play, I could see him having better games and being more effective against other teams.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think he had like a terrible game, but at some point being 5'10", 5'11", going against Michigan, going to probably cause a little bit of issue, especially when you're playing up in level that much. But he's the shooter. He is somebody that is just going to. He only put up 6 threes, attempted 6 threes, went 3 of 6 against Michigan in that game. Is somebody that wouldn't be shocked if in any given game he puts up double-digit 3-point attempts. As you said, right, he is going to be more of the initiator, kind of lead ball handler. If they do run any like pick and roll type action, he's probably going to be the ball handler more often than not in it. Very small, like 5 foot, listed at 5'11", 160 pounds, and we know that sometimes those are even juiced up more than what's they actually are. This is a team that doesn't run like a ton of pick and roll, so it is a lot of pass, move off ball, and then come off pin downs, come off screens, spot up, catch and shoot type. He's a shooter though, and Purdue just has to be aware of where he's kind of at on the perimeter.
Yeah, and then we can talk about the other two starters in Zaire Wells. And sorry, I lost my spot. And Nasi Mashur. Mashur finishes that game with 8 points on 2 of 6 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Wells finishes with 14 on 5 of 13 from the floor and 1 of 3 from the field. Neither of those guys, as I watched, my eyes kind of kept gravitating towards the other 3 starters, at least offensively. As you watched that game, what did you see out of those 2 guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wells is kind of interesting. He's like the 6 foot, listed at 6'6" as a wing. Got up a lot of shots, wasn't super efficient, but he's somebody that basically he's either going to try to bulldoze his way to the rim or get to the rim, or much lower volume, but can definitely knock down threes. Shot 42% from 3 last year. It seems like, and he played at the JUCO level, but 6'6" wing, like for Oakland's small at the point guard spot and like the center spot, but they have decent size at kind of the other 3 positions, and that's with Wells, who's probably their 2 guard type player. So he's somebody that I would expect him to have better games than kind of what he did against Michigan. Maybe he doesn't have it against Purdue either, but has just kind of the capability, I think, to go and do different things offensively, both on and off ball. Mashur is more, he seems more just kind of like a shooter, not going to get inside the paint much. His shot the ball really well from 3 last year for Oakland, shot 42.6% on good enough volume. Isn't too heavily involved offensively. Definitely feels like he's the 5th option, but he's a shooter in a system for Oakland that prioritizes shooting and movement and spacing. So he is somebody that Purdue just has to be aware of at all times.
Yeah, just to clarify with Zaire Wells, I think he played Division II basketball at Lenore-Rhyne last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but either way, a move up. And I think that was something that was consistent as you looked at several of their starters, is they definitely were people who took a jump up, right? You have one one of their reserves coming off the bench came from Rochester Christian. You have Zaire Wells coming from Lenore Ryan. You have, you've got another player coming from junior college. So I think with a lot of that, it looked like they were just overwhelmed by the size and physicality and the talent level at this division, seeing it for the first time. So it'll be interesting to me as they come to Purdue, if they've maybe settled in a little bit there. Anybody you want to kind of mention on the bench before we move on to kind of what this team does fundamentally?
I mean, the bench didn't do much at all against Michigan. Between the three players that came off the bench, they scored 7 points on 11 shots and had 2 rebounds, an assist, and 4 turnovers. Nate Deer's 6'10", 240, so it can be a bigger body that they can throw at Jacobson and Clough. So he's at least worth mentioning, I think, for that aspect. Maybe he gets a little bit. I mean, it's hard to say that he would get more run against Purdue when Michigan is just bigger than Purdue. But maybe he does. Not super effective offensively. Coy Thurman seems like their backup point guard. Didn't do a whole lot against Michigan. And then Brett White's really the only other. He's the only other backup that played. And again, he's the one that he at least shot the ball, was willing to shoot the ball off the bench. Didn't go in much. We'll kind of see what that's like, but feels like it's especially if they don't get their 2 starters back, it feels like it's pretty starter heavy in terms of kind of usage and production.
Yeah, and obviously, if those 2 starters come back, that changes what the bench looks like and what the starting 5 looks like. Just to mention them real quick, Michael Hogue, a transfer from Jacksonville State that started at St. Peter's at 6'7", 225 pounds, was projected to be the starting 4-man with kind of a really high intensity, good rebounder. I think he averaged like 7.5 rebounds a game last year. And then Warren Marshall, there's just not much data out there because he only played 3 games as a freshman. And I'm assuming if he's projected as a starter last year and only played 3 games as a freshman last year, most likely got hurt and didn't finish out the season. So just not much data there to know, but a sophomore 6'5" guard. So we'll see if either of them are back. That might change things a little bit from that standpoint. As we kind of move to what this team likes to do and how Purdue might counter that from their side of things, I think we need to talk about the defense first. You brought that up in terms of just it kind of being unique for the way Oakland has run it and the fact that Campy's done it for so long. So maybe talk a little bit about what they will want to do defensively, and then we can talk about how Purdue might try to attack that. I don't know if the whiteboard needs to come out here to explain this, or if you just want to give a general overview.
I don't think I unpacked my whiteboard. I don't even know where it's at right now. But
We're all good.
Yeah, basically they run like a 1-3-1 type zone that can kind of morph into a 2-3 when needed. They're going to run it a lot. They'll run man mainly just like if they don't get back in time and then just kind of have to pick up guys quickly. But the zone itself, yeah, it's not like super heavy trap by any means. It's definitely more of just kind of sitting back in the zone and just trying to force uncomfortable looks, different types of looks. They'll obviously kind of have to fly around a little bit with the uniqueness of the zone itself. I say 1-3-1, it can kind of morph into whatever it needs to be, really. It's just kind of like cover a guy at times is pretty much what the zone becomes. I think Michigan, like, there's a couple things with how Purdue can attack it. I think Michigan obviously did a very good job. Michigan making over 50% of their threes also is going to help things a lot. But Michigan did a really good job, I think, of like getting into the short corner along the baseline and getting it to like one of the bigs where if you can get there kind of behind the defense, then it collapses and that's where kickouts happen. Being able to drive and kick, this should be as long as Purdue's making jumpers, this should probably be another big Braden assist game just with his ability to, if you can get 2 feet in the paints, defense has to collapse, and that's where just a lot of kickouts can happen. There were multiple plays where it felt like Michigan was just drive and kick, and then eventually, got a completely wide open 3. There's also going to be some time where we'll see if TKR is back or not, but we'll talk about that I'm sure in a second. But even if it is just Clough and Jacobson, like there should be times that they can go one-on-one in the post if they can kind of go quickly, and they'll probably be matched up with a much smaller player. So, especially with Jacobson, who I think struggled a little bit definitely with Evansville finishing around the rim, might be a good game to kind of get him some reps there. So, yeah, it's a unique zone, and Campy's run it for it feels. I mean, I don't know how long he's fully run it. It feels like he's probably run it for forever, and it's just going to be unique. And Purdue has more than the talent to be able to counter it, but it is something you just kind of gotta feel out for the first couple minutes.
Yeah, and it's the other thing I thought Michigan did a good job of, and I just pulled it up, and I was a little bit shocked that they only had 10 fast break points, but it did feel like a lot of times they got down, even if it wasn't true fast break, and started to attack before Oakland could really get set fully in that zone. Which obviously, if you can attack early before they're set, that could be beneficial as well. A lot of times when we talk about zone, the conversation is to get it in the middle of the floor, right, and then be able to pass out from that. Is that true with this type of zone? And obviously, if TKR is back, I think Purdue can exploit that a lot because of his passing ability. If TKR is not back, I'm not sure that they have the same kind of middle post presence that can really facilitate in the same way.
Yeah, so you still want to get into the middle against this zone. It is a little bit different because, right, it's not a traditional 2-3 where you can kind of plant
Mhm.
a guy at the free throw line. They'll have a defender there. But there's two ways. With driving ability, just being able to attack a gap and get downhill, that's more obviously from the guards. And then also from like, the block, short corner, anywhere kind of like close. It's closer to the baseline rather than just purely at the free throw line, which I think is what we think of as more traditional kind of zone breaker stuff. But once you can kind of get it to the corner or get it near like the block, that's where you can kind of pick apart the defense with some passing from the bigs.
And this is why we have Joe on the show so that he can very politely tell me that I was completely wrong in that statement in terms of how you attack it. 1-3-1 attack different than 2-3 attack. Noted.
Yep.
Okay, Joe. As we look at Oakland offensively in terms of their principles, what do they like to do? You mentioned all the cuts, back cuts, and stuff like that earlier, and things that gave Purdue problems from Kentucky. I thought we saw that early a couple times from Evansville, and then I thought Purdue did a good job of shutting that off as the game progressed. But what do you expect to see from them?
Yeah, so the offensive system is very off-ball movements, pin down, screening, like off-ball screening heavy. They're not like gonna put up um their system isn't like shoot 60% of their shots from three, but they're generally in the top 75 to 100 in the country in terms of 3-point attempt rate. Anywhere from 40 to 45% of their shots are going to come from three. Obviously, that's a season average. Any given game can be a lot more or a lot less. But it's not, I mean, they are like the lowest pick and roll usage team in the entire country. Last season, they ran 148 total as a team. I'm going to look it up just for reference, but Brain Smith ran a whole lot more than 148 last season. Um, I have the stats pulled up now. Brain Smith ran 742 himself last year, just for reference. So this is a lot more off-ball movement. They will do a lot some post-ups with their bigs, but it's I think Purdue switching off-ball switching and communication has gotten progressively better through the first three games. I still think there's a lot of room for improvement. This is going to be a very good test for that. Of their switches and their communication and their timing have to be on points, or else Oakland's going to get good looks. Um, right, and Purdue should take care of Oakland no problem. But if Oakland comes out and hits 6 or 7 threes really early on, it puts Purdue into this awkward spot of like, okay, maybe this can be a little bit closer. So just being aware of where everybody's at, how they're going to switch. And then also, I think that also applies to when Oakland does decide to post up, just because Purdue's going to probably double. Just being aware of kind of all the rotations that need to happen. So I think it's honestly it's a pretty good test in a game Purdue should have no issues. It's a good test to just like all right, they're going to really put pressure on some of the things we've really struggled with. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and specifically, I think as we look at the two guards in CJ and Jakari, and even Benter last night, that we've seen good communication, ability to switch, ability to call those things out and communicate on the perimeter and defend well in the last couple of games. It will be interesting to me, just like you said, but specifically to the newcomers, like have they gotten better at that? Have they gotten better of just instinctively reacting to those things on the defensive side of the ball? I think that transitions really well to the next segment here of just keys to the game. We did not have this. I left this out somehow in the first show and plugged it back in there. I think based off what you just described there, there's some keys that kind of just naturally lend themselves and jump out. But for you, what is your specific key to the game, either offensively or defensively?
Yeah, I think it's defensively. It is just getting the correct communication and timing on kind of the off-ball switches that are going to happen, correct positioning, just being continuing to be better defensively. Nobody expects this team to be a top 10 defense, but we all know that to be championship contender, they got to be probably somewhere in that top 25 to 35 range. So just continuing to see improvements in that area feels like the key of the game to me, at least, especially on the defense side of the ball.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go just kind of real basic here, based off of a couple of things I've seen from post players from Purdue, and then just watching this team play against Michigan, more so than their height in terms of this team being small. Again, we said their tallest player is 6'8". This team of Oakland, they're not built right. They're just kind of slighter frame, lower weight. I just want to see Purdue impose their will physically in this game. I want to see Oscar Clough impose his will under the basket, clean up every rebound like we've kind of been told he did all offseason. I want to see Daniel Jacobson secure the ball and impose his will as a big man. And I want to see our guards and wings push these guys around a little bit out there and fight for the ball and show their physicality that I think's maybe been missing just a little bit at times through this exhibition series. And even last night to a degree when we looked at the rebounding and how many offensive rebounds this team gave up. I want to see guards and wings check a body because a lot of those offensive rebounds were wings coming in or guards coming in and kind of getting that ball off of a tip after, Clough initiates contact with the ball. So that's what I want to see. That's what I think the key to the game will be, is imposing their will and their physicality. Any other keys you want to mention on either side of the ball before we move on?
Um, I would say knocking down 3-point shots. Like obviously Purdue did it very well, but it is a game where they should be getting a good chunk of threes, or at least good looks from three. So, right, I don't think anybody expects Purdue to lose this or really expects this game to be close, but it does feel like if like my two keys were kind of good off ball defense and then good 3-point shooting. It's like if both of those are really bad, that's where things can maybe get a little dicey. Obviously, I don't think either of us expect that though.
Right on, right on. Without knowing it TK's playing or not, it's hard to predict a score in this game. But I'm going to go first this time because you went first last time. I'm still going to call it. I'm going to go 82 to like 54 in this game.
So that's almost the exact same scores for Evansville.
Oh shoot!
I mean,
It
that's
was,
fine.
wasn't it?
No, it's just
Oh yeah.
it's just funny. I don't know. Could be 100% right. I think it's going to be a little bit. I'll go with a little bit more scoring. I think it'll be 89 to 57. So we're in the similar ballpark.
See, if TK comes back, I think this could be a 90-point game. But
Yeah.
like I just get this sense with, and maybe not, who knows? I just get this if he's sore at all and that Alabama game's looming next week, I just feel like they'll probably rest him
I
and just
wonder
hold him for that.
I wonder if he plays like 13 minutes or something. Just
Yeah,
like
something
get him a little bit of run so he's not fully rusty and then like doesn't really play the second half type thing. I could see that happening.
for sure, for sure. How many minutes does Braden Smith sit in this game?
How many did he sit yesterday? Braden played 30. Geez, he played 30 minutes against Evansville. He's gonna sit 11 minutes in this one.
Okay.
One
Okay.
more. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw in the first half yesterday. I put out a tweet at the end of the half that said more shocking: Braden Smith sitting 3 minutes or Fletcher Lawyer hitting 5 threes, because he hit his season average of rest in the first half in that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do expect Braden to get a little bit more rest, especially in some of these non-con games. But I was a little bit surprised that he got as much as he did in the first half. Painter usually kind of holds that for the second half. Go ahead and take us home, Joe.
Yeah, so we will be live following Purdue versus Oakland. Make sure to like and subscribe, turn on bell notifications. You'll get notified as soon as we do go live following the game, which is a 7 o'clock Eastern time tip on Peacock. Friday night, Mackey Arena, first Friday game of the year. I actually don't know how many they have off the top of my head, but felt like last year they had a bunch, and I'm sure they'll have a few more this season. So appreciate everybody tuning in. And yeah, we will catch you after Purdue plays Oakland at 7 o'clock on Friday.